Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner, and this is Stage 8 of Dauphiné. Exciting stage today. It's the last stage. It's going to decide the general classification. Everybody's really tight up in the top 10 on general classification. Richie Porte is leading, and when the show pops on, it's about 55 kilometers to go. Massive break up there, 15, 18 riders, and Marc Padon is up there. Yesterday's stage winner, stage 7 summit winner, Bahrain victorious, Marc Padon's up there, and I picked him as my man to win today's stage, and he is flying in the front group. Now he's just hanging out back there. Honestly, folks, I don't know how he got in there. This is amazing. A group this size to let a rider like Marc Padon, who's climbing the way he was yesterday, and then allow him in this group is just blowing my mind apart. I don't know how it was permitted, but it's happening. EF Education, who had Lawson Craddock in the climber's jersey, he's losing points as every climb passes because Marc Padon's decided he's going to start grabbing as many KOM points as he possibly can on today's stage, and nobody can do anything about it. Michael Valgreen's in there. He's trying to steal points. I'm sure sprinting against him, but he's only coming up second. That's deuce because Marc Padon's taking first place prizes on every mountain summit that they have that has massive points on today's stage. There's two Bora Hansgrohe riders in there, Niels Pollitt and Patrick Conrad. Patrick Conrad's only about 250 down on general classification, and so that is the team that's doing most of the work up front in this break. Niels Pollitt, he's a classic specialist, big, tall guy, lots of power, and he's driving on the front. He all the time while we're watching from 55K to go all the way to the start of the Joux Plane, that boy is just driving on the front, and he's got that group of 18 just strung out all over the road. Now, Bora Hansgrohe, that makes sense to me, how they let Marc Padon stay in that group because they're fighting for GC. They don't care if they win the stage, but if they can get time, get Patrick Conrad in the top 10, top 5 podium, possibly win. Can you imagine? He's up the road in the break. He's already even on time with Richie Porte. So Niels Pollitt is pulling like a madman. Behind, Ineos is back there, riding tempo, nice solid pace, nothing crazy. The group's already down to about 70, 75 riders at this point in the race. Richie Porte has a mechanical, about 50K to go. He'll change bikes. A couple teammates will drop back for him. They'll pull him back on while he keeps teammates on the front to keep everything status quo and not lose much time to the breakaway guys. Remember, at 2 minutes 50 seconds, Patrick Conrad is a bit of a threat, so they got to keep the group kind of close. Richie Porte will get back on. Ineos will ride tempo all the way into the start of the Joux Plane. 27 kilometers to go when the Joux Plane starts, and this is 11.5 kilometer climb and 8.5%, and it's nasty. When I did it in the Tour de France, I was all the way on the valley from the Côte de Chantillon all the way to the start of the Joux Plane in the wind for Cadel Evans because we had a crosswind coming right to left in that valley, and I was just in the wind the whole time suffering like this, and I could not wait for that left turn to start because man, I was hurting every which way possible, and every bone in my body and muscle was just aching. We made the left. I wish Cadel Evans the best of luck, and I sat up and enjoyed a Coke and a couple Snickers on a little picnic rest area there about 1.5 kilometers into that climb. Now, when the GC guys get there, they're still 2:45 behind the breakaway guys. When the break reached there at 27 kilometers to go, right away we see guys popping off the back, and there's a big bunch of the group still left there at the break, and the camera's passing by. 2-3 of the guys dropped off the back. By the time they get to the bunch there, though, Marc Padon has already lit everybody up, and he is going up the road solo. Patrick Conrad tried to go with him, but he just rode that boy off. 900 meters, 1K at the most. Into the start of the Joux Plane, Marc Padon is solo, and when the camera looks back, there's nothing but desert back there. He's got open air, and now he is driving all the way to the line, and he's going as hard as he can. Remember, I said he started that left turn at 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Keep that in mind because we got the Tour de France coming, so we got a story that can blend into that. Now, behind the favorites, all the GC guys are hitting that turn. Ineos have it under control. Their whole team's at the front. They're looking beautiful. They're setting tempo along almost most of the way up that climb. We'll see a little bit of tax from Nairo Quintana, maybe 1-2K into that climb. Ben Hermans will go with him, but Nairo Quintana clearly does not have the legs he's had in the past. and it'll be Steven Kreiswick that'll jump out of the front and put the most pressure on Ineos early into this Juplin climb. Steven Kreiswick will go up the road. He'll pass Ben Hermans, Nairo Quintana quickly, and now he's riding solo. But it's not for the win because Mark Perdone's up there driving like crazy and no one's gaining time on him. Behind, Ineos setting tempo. They'll ride all the way up till Michael Kwiatkowski pulls off. When Michael Kwiatkowski pulls off, then we start seeing some excitement from Movistar. They get on the front and they got fabulous numbers. It's basically 5, 6 Movistar riders to 3 of the Ineos riders. It's the first time where Ineos look like they're going to possibly or have less numbers and going to lose the battle. But it's not going to be because they got the right 3 back there. Now, at around 18 kilometers to go, Alejandro Valverde is getting dropped. Steven Kreiswick is getting caught. And you look at the gap to Mark Perdone, and it's still been increasing the whole time Movistar's been on the front. Mark Perdone is absolutely flying up there, and he is just taking off with wings. Shortly after that, Lopez will throw in an attack. He'll get a bit of a gap, but it's Tao Gegenhardt followed by G. Thomas and Richie Porte sitting on his wheel, getting a great ride all the way up to Juplin. In my mind, I'm thinking, wow, Richie Porte calm like a bomb. When he's watching Lopez go up the road, he just stays right there on his Ineos train. There's been a lot of debate about how Ineos have switched to make more exciting racing. Today, they brought it all back to the status Sky train lead up the last climb because Richie Porte is not budging whatsoever. They'll catch Lopez near the top, and Jack Haig will throw in a huge attack. Tao Gegenhardt, who's just been riding marvelous, he brought back Lopez. Now he's still on the front with Jack Haig up the road. G. Thomas, just before the summit, will throw in a huge dig to try to close the gap on Jack Haig. He'll get really close and he'll blow the group up. You'll see in the picture there that it's Lopez that's opening up the gap behind the 3 leaders, G. Thomas, Richie Porte, and I believe it's Ben O'Connor there. They'll just about catch Jack Haig there, and once the descent starts proper, all of a sudden things get interesting. Now remember, I've told you this many times, Richie Porte, and I've been on his wheel many times when he's done it. He's not very good going downhill. He doesn't like to take the risk. He's always losing gaps, causing the wheel to open up in front of him. Lysenko and Jan Izagirre, along with Jack Haig and G. Thomas, will open up a gap on race leader Richie Porte. Now, in my mind, I'm freaking out here. I'm going crazy. G. Thomas, what are you thinking? Now, at any point in time, you are Super Domestique mode. Now remember, Super Domestique knows all the tricks. They know how to work on the front. They know how to look after their leaders. They know to look back often. I brought it up already during Dauphiné with Michael Kwiatkowski, how absolutely amazing Super Domestique he is. When I told you every time, look how Michael Kwiatkowski always looks back. Every time he does a big acceleration. Every time he shoots through a gap that's really small and narrow that his team leader might not have made it through. Every time he makes a hard left or right turn. Every time the climb starts to go up. Every time on the descent through the curves, Michael Kwiatkowski is looking back to find out where his team leader is. G. Thomas, have you not watched the butterfly effect? You have to look back. It is no big secret. If I know Richie Porte can't go down the descents that good, you clearly should know. And when that gap is opening up, you got to remember, folks at home, it's Alexei Lysenko with his teammate Jan Izagirre from Astana at the front going crazy. Jack Haig is up there going crazy. And G. Thomas is doing what? He's doing absolutely no good for Richie Porte whatsoever being up there. Now, if Alexei Lysenko isn't up there, G. Thomas would be race leader up there. That's a different story. But Alexei Lysenko second on GC, and G. Thomas is only third. So there's no benefit to the Ineos guys having G. Thomas up there. When you look at the picture, Richie Porte is back there just going as hard as he can on any straightaway to try to pull that gap back. Luckily for Ineos, they get help from Ben O'Connor back there. They work together. They start to close the gap. They're almost close. When G. Thomas decides and looks back and sees his race leader there, he'll sit up, and now you'll see the gap to the attackers. G. Thomas, they're coming into the left turn, and there's Richie Porte's group back there. G. Thomas will go into the left turn. Front end will lose it, and he'll crash hard on the pavement with only 5-6 kilometers to go. Absolutely spectacular crash. How he made this crash is beyond me. He's on his own. There's nobody in front of him. He's got a safe gap in front, safe gap behind, and he still takes himself out. Remember, it's race leader Richie Porte right behind him. Had they been a little bit closer, maybe he takes race leader Richie Porte down, and that's it for Richie's chance of winning this Dauphiné. Up front, now there's a little more chaos. Richie Porte closes up onto the front guys, but now we have G. Thomas, third on general classification, and he's missing when they get to the bottom of the descent. G. Thomas finally gets up quite quickly, starts chasing, but he's still got a gap to the favorites up there. They start 1, 2, 3, 4, and Richie Porte left and right, and then they make a big mistake. We'll see a little bit of an argument there with Lusenko, and he's arguing with Wilco Kelderman from Bora Hansgrohe, probably yelling at him like, dude, you got a chance to move up from fourth to third. Let's keep the attacks going. The light bulb pops off in Wilco Kelderman's head. He throws in attack. Lusenko's the guy who closes the gap. Now they have a little truce amongst them, and they really needed to just keep attacking. The speed slows. G. Thomas attaches back on and goes straight to the front. His shorts are ripped up, but he goes straight to the front and he starts setting tempo. The last 2 or 3 kilometers of this stage, up to the climb, into the finish. The only one of the favorites to sneak off the front will be Ben O'Connor, the AG2R, but it won't be enough time to get any kind of movement on the general classification. Up front, Marc Padon, he's done an amazing job of soloing the stage all the way from the beginning of the Jouplan and to the finish line. He was absolutely amazing. At the summit of the climb of the Jouplan, he started with 2:45 at the bottom, and at the top he had about 3:20, if not 3:30 lead on the GC favorites. That is unbelievable, folks, to be in the breakaway and put time on the best climbers in the world back there, minus the Slovenians, of course, because they're not here. We're going to have to see how he goes at the Tour de France. But in my mind right now, I'm thinking, Marc Padon, you need to be careful with all of your training. Be fantastic. Keep it good and come into the Tour de France, and let's see if you can light this race up for Bahrain Victorious and add another big player at the Tour de France. Now, Marc Padon, he talked about afterwards in the press, he has a bit of problem controlling his weight. When I told you guys, and I saw him at the Basque Country, and I said he's a big boy, I got a lot of comments back. And the comments were, no, he's not that big, he's super light. At the Basque Country, in those pictures, I could tell he's a little bit overweight. Overweight in cycling is not like it is in the office. You come in 1 kilometer, 2 pounds overweight, you're going to feel that difference when you're racing at this top level. When you come in 3 and 4, you're not going to be with the front group. And if you come in 5, you might as well not even bother showing up for the race. So when I'm talking about a rider being big, when I mean big, I mean wide. I mean, a little bit of girth to him. Now, in cycling, a little bit of girth is honestly 4 pounds. 2 kilos is a little bit of girth, and that's the difference between what we saw before at the Basque Country, what I was witnessing there, versus what we saw here on yesterday's stage, where now he's just looking thin. He's been starving himself clearly at the beginning of this race, and which is the wrong thing to do too. Diet is absolutely amazingly important. I mean, it's so important, it's unbelievable. He's got it figured out. He's riding with the best in the world, and he's on his way to the Tour de France. Going to be spectacular to see what Marc Padon can do. Now behind G. Thomas, he did a great job. He controlled the field all the way to the field of GC favorites, all the way to the line. Richie Porte wins Dauphiné 2021 in fabulous style. He was fantastic. Ineos go 1 and 3 on general classification. Alexei Lusenko from Astana does an amazing job for a guy who's not known for getting over these big climbs. He was fabulous, and even with a legitimate, solid shot of winning this Dauphiné on the last descent to the line. It was fantastic racing in today's stage. Sorry I couldn't have brought it to you earlier. Was nothing I could do about it. Wasn't put up online yet, so I had to do a little VPN effort and then get it a little bit from this way, a little bit from that way, and finally I got it from Eurosport, and then I delivered it to you guys. Hope you liked the take on today's stage. I saw a lot of things. Ineos are looking at a little bit of trouble if that crash hurt G. Thomas back there before this year's Tour de France. Richie Porte is sharp and ready to go, but as always, cannot descend. G. Thomas is very good, and when I'm talking about what his tactics were going up in that split, I'm not knocking the guy for not being a domestique there. What I'm knocking him for being is not an educated, good domestique. I know he will ride for Richie Porte if it comes to that at the Tour de France, but if his legs continue to get better, I believe he could be the better of the two by the time the Tour de France starts. It's going to be exciting. Marc Perdon, good luck. Hope you guys love the Dauphiné on the butterfly effect, and I'll see you guys real soon as I'm finishing up with Tour of Swiss that just started today. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for Tour of Swiss, and then the Tour de France 2021 is around the corner. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you real soon.